Hello and welcome. Tonight, it's double victory for the People's Democratic Party today as the Governorship Election Petition Tribunals sitting in Akwa Ibom and Delta State affirmed the election of Governors Umar Ena and Sheriff Oborevwori. Lagos Coroner's Inquest begins preliminary inquiries into the death of Afrobeat singer Ilerioluwa Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad, bars journalists from access to the courtroom. And we continue our series examining the President's 8-point agenda ahead of the nation's 63rd independence anniversary. Tonight, we focus on his plans to tackle corruption.
On Business News tonight, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission issues licenses to companies for wholesale supply of gas for domestic use.
On Sports News tonight, a historic undisputed heavyweight fight between champions Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk has been signed and will take place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
And from the nation's capital, police vow to go tough on internet fraudsters. Arraigned 2 suspects over online forex transactions amounting to over 500,000 euro, over 42 million naira.
And in international news from London, police say at least 50 people have been killed and more than 50 injured in a suicide attack in Pakistan.
More tribunals have continued to deliver judgments in the governorship election held on March the 18th this year. One of the latest is from Akwa Ibom State, where the State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has upheld the election of Governor Umar Ena of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. The tribunal declared Governor Umar Ena as validly elected and dismissed the suit instituted by Senator Bassi Albert Akpan and his party, the Young Progressives Party, as frivolous. Delivering judgment which lasted for about 2.5 hours, the tribunal further held that Pastor Umar Ena did not present a forged certificate of WAEC as claimed by the petitioner.
We're all quite pleased that the judgment came out the way it did. It primarily supports our contention, our consistent contention. One, that the certificates that the governor presented, they were not forged. And that has been resoundingly affirmed by the tribunal. And second, that there was absolutely nothing like corrupt practice as far as the elections were concerned. The results were genuine, they were correct, and they actually confirmed that the governor won the election. So we're quite pleased about that. The issues in regard to certificate forgery, if it has been decided in a case that went as far as the Supreme Court, then we should actually look for something else to do. It does not have to be re-litigated.
When there are 2 sides of a case, so definitely either side will win. And thank God it's not the final court, like I did in the case. But, once a party is displeased with the judgment of the court, it is within your constitutional rights, to test that judgment. We put in our best, but in the wisdom of the tribunal, they have given judgment the way it went. So we can't question them, but we have the right, to move forward, from this level. He indicated that the petitioner, we are not pleased with the judgment, but we can't say more than that. Their lordships have tried their best. The way the law appears to them, they've delivered the judgment. So it's not within my right to condemn them. But I can also say categorically that my clients, who are the petitioner, will test the judgment at the appropriate court.
Meanwhile, in Delta State, it's also sweet victory for Governor Sheriff Oborevwori following the affirmation of his election by the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. The 3-member tribunal dismissed the petitions filed by former Deputy President of the Senate, Mr. Ovie Omoagege of the APC, and that of Ken Pella of the Labour Party, as well as that of Mr. Kenneth Gbagi of the Social Democratic Party, the SDP. The tribunal held that the petition contained unsubstantiated allegations.
It was a tense atmosphere with security operatives on ground to take care of any disruption of law and order around the court premises. Inside the courtroom, counsel to both petitioners and respondents, including that of INEC and the other parties, take their seats. The first matter addressed was the judgments between the PDP and the APC, delivered by a three-man panel headed by Justice Chibuzo Akuchukwu, dismissing the petition of the All Progressives Congress candidate, Senator Ovie Omoagege, who's challenging the election of Governor Sheriff Oborevwori for lack of merit. The tribunal is of the view that the petitioners were merely speculative and failed to prove allegations of non-compliance with the Electoral Act and corrupt practices beyond reasonable doubt.
What has been said today, a lot of contradictions in the judgment. But we as lawyers, we keep our mouths shut. We don't criticize judgments openly. So what we are saying is that everybody should be calm. We'll take proper steps and procedure.
The court came to the irresistible conclusion that the allegations contained in these petitions were never proved by the evidence, and therefore these petitions have no merit and were accordingly dismissed.
In a related development, the tribunal also dismissed the petitions filed by the candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Mr. Kenneth Gbagi, and that of his Labour Party counterpart, Ken Pella, also for lack of merit. Away from the court, the governor of Delta State, Mr. Sheriff Oborevwori, celebrates his victory at the tribunal with thanksgiving at the government house, where he asked his opponents to join him to develop the state.
My advice to my other brothers, for them to come so that we can work together to see how we can advance Delta State.
Senator Ovie Omoagege of the APC, Mr. Ken Pella of the Labour Party, and Mr. Kenneth Gbagi of the SDP had challenged the declaration of Oborevwori of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, as winner of the March 18 governorship election by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
In his swift reaction to the tribunal judgment in Delta State, the candidate of the APC in that election, Senator Ovie Omoagege, says he will appeal the verdict which dismissed his petition. The former deputy president of the Senate, in a statement, maintained that the tribunal was conducted in a challenging environment. He says he has already instructed his legal team to commence legal action in the Court of Appeal. Staying with electoral matters as they play out in the courts, a governorship aspirant of the APC in Kogi State, Mr. Abubakar Achimogu, has expressed displeasure over the dismissal of his appeal on the party's primary election by the Supreme Court. Mr. Achimogu maintains that while he accepts the judgment of the court in good faith, the Apex Court did not go into the substance of the matter raised.
I found this, the first and second respondents in this case not adhering or abiding by these rules and regulations, which in the position of the party as we speak today still do not have their letters of resignation. And by my own basic understanding of law, that practically means that there were no letters of resignation. As at the time they purchased the form, they went through the screening process and also went through the election primaries. I was in court, at the lower courts, from the high court to the appeal courts, trying to ensure that we're actually bringing this clarity to our own electioneering processes. It is important that we instill probity in one form or the other in ensuring that people who rule us, who govern us, are people who have actually abided by the rules and the regulation, that will ensure that there's responsibility, there's ownership in terms of the deliverables that they should leave the masses with. So these are the challenges, and that was actually the question that I sought for at the Supreme Court, to note whether if a public servant or a civil servant on claims that they have resigned do not require to forward these letters of resignations to the party. I did not have that privilege today in court, but that is where it is the last court of jurisdiction, and that is where the case is. But unfortunately, a democracy, our nascent democracy, may have also been denied of that unique privilege of addressing this particular issue.
The governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Kaduna State, Mr. Isa Ashiru, has also been speaking on Thursday's tribunal judgment on the state governorship election. He says contrary to Governor Uba Sani's position that the tribunal affirmed his victory, he maintains that instead the tribunal ordered a supplementary election within 90 days and that his team will appeal the judgment. He spoke on our political program, Politics Today.
The truth of the matter is that the election was annulled. And the tribunal directed INEC to conduct election, like you have correctly said it now, within 90 days. Unfortunately, he reported that this election was upheld. We'll see between the next 2 or 3 weeks allowed whether he will go on appeal or not. Whosoever said his election was upheld, I don't think there is any need for him to go for appeal. I want to assure you that we are going on appeal. I have met with my team, the legal team, and we have taken that decision in consultation with my party and senior stakeholders.
Ahead of the Edo State governorship election in 2024, the Palace of the Oba of Benin has emphasized its non-partisan position as it highlights the need for Edo voters to make wise choices and produce leaders who will improve the lives of the masses. The Oba of Benin, Oba Iwari II, made his position known in response to one of the aspirants of the Labour Party, Mr. Kenneth Imasuagbon, who was at the palace to seek royal blessings ahead of the poll. Our correspondent, Jessica Olobase, reports.
Royal blessings and support are what Kenneth Imasuagbon of the Labour Party has come to the Palace of the Oba of Benin to seek ahead of the 2024 Edo governorship election as he aspires for the #1 office in the state for the 5th time.
Your Royal Majesty, I cannot go outside to say I want to run for the office of Edo State. Without first coming to inform His Royal Majesty. That I want to be the governor of Edo State.
Mr. Imasuagbon's philanthropy, which has earned him the nickname the Rice Man, is well known to His Royal Majesty Omanoba Nedu Kwapolopolo Ewai II, Oba of Benin.
So, how many bags of rice? How many trailers? I hope you brought many trailers. They are not called the rice man for nothing.
However, the Oba is clear on the palace stance of remaining non-partisan, even as concern for the masses' progress, respect for traditional institutions, and all-round development of the state stay uppermost as requirements for the next governor of Edo State.
We pray quietly, silently to God to give us the man, to give us the man that will truly respect the people, respect the people's wishes, look after the masses, put food on the table of the masses, put food on the table of the masses, make the masses happy. I emphasize that we make the masses happy, the people happy. Respect traditional institutions.
As the monarch prays for the peace, continuous growth of the state, and wisdom to guide the electorate in choosing well, Mr. Imasuagbon believes his carefully thought-out plans will transform Edo State.
My plan is that our schools must be fixed, our teachers must be paid, there will no more be roof that leaks. Our children must not be in class, and they will be packing water. So my plan will be to create jobs for the younger ones.
The INEC timetable and schedule of activities for the Edo governorship election, as released on Tuesday, has party primaries scheduled to run from 1st to 24th February 2024 and the governorship election fixed for Saturday, 21st September 2024. Jessica Oluguse, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, we turn our attention to the president's plan to tackle corruption as we continue our series on his 8-point agenda ahead of the nation's 63rd independence anniversary. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. It's double victory for the People's Democratic Party today as the governorship election petition tribunal sitting in Akwa Ibom and Delta states affirmed the election of Governors Umar Eno and Sheriff Oborevwori. Lagos Coroner's Inquest begins preliminary inquiries into the death of Afrobeat singer Ilerioluwa Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad, bars journalists from access to the courtroom. We continue our series examining the president's 8-point agenda ahead of the nation's 63rd independence anniversary. Tonight, we focus on its plans to tackle corruption. And police say at least 50 people have been killed and more than 50 others injured in a suicide attack in Pakistan. The coroner's inquest into the death of Afrobeat singer Ilerioluwa Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad, commenced sitting today at the Magistrate Court in Ikorodu, Lagos. Journalists were, however, barred from gaining access into the courtroom, and no reason was given for this development. Channels Television, however, gathered that the coroner, Magistrate Taofikat Adedayo Shotobi, told the parties in the inquest that the day's proceedings was to discuss the modalities for hearing of evidence. Hearing of the evidence is to commence on Friday, October the 13th. By a letter dated September 18th this year, the law firm of Falana and Falana Chamber had asked the Chief Coroner of the High Court of Lagos State, Justice Mojisola Dada, to unravel the circumstances surrounding what it described as the very tragic death of the late Mohbad under mysterious circumstances. Mohbad died about 2 weeks ago at the age of 27. In the meantime, the Lagos State Police Command says that music promoter Balogun Eletu, also known as Sam Larry, is now in its custody as the probe of the singer's death continues. The police spokesperson in the state, Benjamin Hundeyin, had stated that Sam Larry is assisting with ongoing investigation into Mohbad's controversial death. The president listed the fight against corruption as one of the priority areas in his move to revitalize the nation's economy. However, the administration has not been elaborate about its anti-corruption plans, thus raising questions about its intended approach over the next 3 years and 8 months. In continuation of our series on his 8-point agenda, our correspondent, Gloria Omizoke, looks at the issues in the fight against corruption.
In our policy think tank, we must fight corruption, and we definitely must look at the other side.
In the days leading up to his assumption of office on May 29, President Bola Tinubu promised to make corruption unattractive through appropriate incentives. Although the Renewed Hope Agenda document of the administration did not give the fight against corruption a place of prominence, the economy component of the plan states how the administration intends to approach the challenge of corruption in the country. This came to the fore when the finance minister listed the 8-point recovery plan. The Renewed Hope Agenda listed the following as the plan to fight corruption: reforming the civil service to fight corruption, reduce bureaucracy, streamline agencies, decrease inefficiency and waste, streamline the amount that government spends on itself, weed out ghost workers and ghost projects and expenditures, and reduce the overall cost of the federal government. The Tinubu-led administration also illuminated plans to continue the anti-corruption reforms of the previous administration. To accentuate his resolve barely 2 weeks after assuming office, President Tinubu sent a strong anti-corruption signal by suspending Mr. Godwin Emefiele as the governor of the central bank while ordering a probe of the nation's apex bank. He also approved the indefinite suspension of Mr. Abdul-Rashid Bawa as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
Corruption prevention should be high on the agenda of this administration. Rather than chasing people and trying to put them in handcuffs, I don't think this president has time for that. It's to stop the money from going in the first place. The levels of corruption that we have are what you would describe from the literature as an inefficient kleptocracy. People are stealing, but they're not working. In many other climes, people have been stealing, work has been going on, and they have been developing.
In the 2022 Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index, Nigeria is ranked 150 out of 180 countries, an apparent pointer to Nigeria's inability to halt corruption.
Nigerian officials are still not interested in ensuring that, due process and, accountable and responsible governance happen. We cannot continue to just assume that everything is well. The country is facing serious challenges. I think it is important that Tinubu administration should look at the national strategy on the fight against corruption. Let us review it. Let us make sure that every Nigerian play an important role in compliance and implementation of that strategic plan.
Many describe the nation's socio-economic situation as a huge gap between the aspirations held firmly by Nigerians at independence and the current reality. However, President Tinubu continues to assure that some of the measures taken, such as the fuel subsidy removal and the fight against crude oil theft, are imperative to holistically stifle corruption.
This administration has said that by the year 2030, they would like our GDP as Nigeria to move from 400 and something million to $1 trillion. So they're going to plug the loopholes in oil and gas accounting. That's for sure. So it goes still with what I'm saying, that if you are against, and your corruption is against the stated policy of this administration, you will find him to be a corruption fighter.
One thing has remained constant under the democratic dispensation. All presidents have devised means to fix Nigeria's anti-corruption conundrum. 63 years later, there is much to be desired as expectations mount.
If you remember, most of the coupists that came to announce the coup and also advance some reasons, including suspension of the constitution because it was illegal, told the whole world that they are taking over power because of corruption. The law against corruption is very robust. The leaders that are asked to handle or implement this law are very competent. But enforcing this to the latter is our major challenge. If you have leaders that can say, look, this is the cause of it, which is corruption, then we can together fight it.
Now, given the level of corruption in the country, the general consensus is that Nigeria needs more than just executive policies. Active participation from the legislature, judiciary, and critical subnationals are considered key in the fight against corruption, as pundits continue to assert that development is contingent upon the right leadership. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Let's get more perspective on this subject, and joining us live from our Abuja studios is Pioneer Director General and Permanent Secretary, Bureau of Public Service Reforms, Dr. Adegoke Adegroye. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
I'm glad to be with you.
All right, so just as been pointed out earlier, there seems to be no clear spelled out measures on how the president intends to tackle the menace of corruption. What's your reaction on this?
I believe the instruments to tackle corruption are actually there in the public domain, and in the service as well. If you listen to what was listed, all those issues about what needs to be done in the service, reforming the service and so on, are part of the issues. The basic thing that needs to be done when you see that corruption tells you about they being dishonest and fraudulent in conduct, then the opposite, which is integrity, should be the key word. And I've written about this. I devote about 130 pages in my book, Restoring Good Governance in Nigeria, to those issues. Because the issues of corruption is not just about the money, the embezzlement. That's actually at the high end, is the cancer. It starts from records falsification. You find situation where the person who is actually your senior in secondary school is a person that is taken over from you because the person has changed the age. You find situation whereby people have to pay to get posted to certain ministries, whether at lower directorate level or even at the higher levels. So integrity is the issue. But then the challenge also is that even those who develop those kind of integrity power within the system are actually almost being ostracized because integrity, like excellence, they become a burden on whoever have those kind of traits, because your integrity reminds others, especially your peers and superiors, about their inadequacies. And when you talk to civil servants, you will find out that some of them who are very, very honest are being pushed aside to areas where they will not have access to funds. But as I told you, integrity issues is actually something that is inbuilt, like a genome. They are part of the values that we have. So if the government wants to curb corruption, the focus should be appointing at the leadership levels people of impeccable integrity, not just appointing them and giving them the room to be able to get his own support. Because instances where permanent secretaries have tried to stand up to their political heads who are corrupt, they've got the wrong end of the situation by either being blackmailed or being reported to the sitting president and to be moved away.
All right, Dr. Adegorie.
These are the issues. And also...
Permit me to come in there, Dr. Adegorie.
And also
you were the guest lecturer at the 63rd Independence Anniversary Lecture yesterday, and of course you highlighted the fact that the president's plans may be jeopardized. Is corruption not well tackled? Tell us by what you mean when you said that.
Corruption is not well tackled, because if corruption is tackled, then you will find out that some of the stories that we are hearing should actually be stories that have to be dealt with properly. But as I also said, when you have leaders who are actually straightforward, you'll find out that the other people will actually queue behind those leaders. I've had situations whereby some of the people that you find being, celebrated in a negative way of having been corrupt, when those people were working under me, they were not like that. So, and the society too must be ready to be able to deal and appreciate those who are honest. As it is now, when people are posted, all the people are celebrating is, oh, which ministry is he? Is it juicy? Is it this? Is it that? So that's not the way. And that is why some time ago, when I was giving some papers, about 6 years ago, I said we should begin to see the cancer called corruption in the way it is, and then begin to develop some immunotherapy to be able to cure it. And one immunotherapy that I developed at that time was to say that since we have the national pledge that says that I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria and to defend, so help me God, that maybe we should introduce a second stanza And that the second stanza should be something like this, that in the discharge of my duties as a public official or contractor of government for the provision of infrastructure, social, and other enforcement services, if I engage in corrupt acts or exhibit such level of inefficiency and greed that will make me acquire undeserved comfort and wealth as to cause untimely death and or misery to my fellow Nigerians, may their misfortune be upon me and those with whom I share the ill-gotten wealth. So help me God.
All right, Dr. Adegorie, we thank you so much for your thoughts. We thank you so much for your thoughts on the News at 10. Thank you once again, Dr. Adegoke Adegorie, for your thoughts on the News at 10. We thank you.
Thank you.
Still ahead on the News at 10, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission issues licenses to companies for wholesale supply of gas for domestic use. That's on Business News. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Let's now head to the nation's capital, and Terry Ikumi is standing by for the very latest from our Abuja studios. Great to see you again, Terry. Over to you.
Great to see you, Ayo, as well. Well, back here, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory says providing essential services that will touch the lives of the residents of the nation's capital is top on his priority list. Mr. Nyesom Wike reiterated his commitment to the development of the FCT during the swearing-in of Mr. Ibrahim Aminu as the Mandate Secretary for Social Development in the FCT. The minister also met with the Italian ambassador to Nigeria to discuss potential areas of investment in the capital.
As part of efforts by the Federal Capital Territory Administration to develop the nation's capital, the Minister of FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, makes another appointment.
I, Ibrahim Aminu,
hereby solemnly declare and pledge that I will always perform my official duties.
Mr. Ibrahim Aminu is sworn in as the Mandate Secretary for Social Affairs in the company of the former governor of Katsina State, Mr. Aminu Masari. Mr. Wike reiterates his commitment to ensure that the renewed hope agenda of the administration of President Bola Tinubu reflects on the lives of residents of the nation's capital.
It is not an easy thing just to achieve the mission and vision of Mr. President. Nigerians have lost hope. And that's why the agenda renewed hope. We're going to bring back that lost hope to make Nigeria believe that things can still work.
At a separate meeting, Mr. Wike also receives the Italian ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Stefano Leo. Both men discussed areas of mutual interest.
It will be a pleasure to cooperate with you, Your Excellency, to follow your guidance, your ideas, and Italy and also the European Union. Of course, we are member states. I can speak as a member state also of the European Union. We will be very glad to strengthen our cooperation with you and with the capital and with the whole country.
Ours is to see that the environment is conducive for businesses to thrive. If the environment is not conducive, it will be difficult for businesses to thrive. So I can assure you that you will have a very good environment conducive in that matter that will enable you to carry out your activities. And whatever you think that FCT should do, we are willing to partner with you.
The FCT minister plans to reciprocate the visit to discuss partnerships that will develop tourism and agriculture in the nation's capital.
The crime matters now. The police authorities have vowed to go tough on internet fraudsters and individuals who engage in cyber stalking. This follows the parade of two suspected online forex fraudsters in Abuja, who were allegedly involved in two separate fraudulent online forex transactions amounting to 513,000 euros over 42 million naira. Meanwhile, the police spokesperson, Mr. Olumuyiwa Adejobi, has also spoken out on the arrest and detention of one Chioma Egoji over her social media posts on Erisco food makers of Najiko tomato paste. According to Mr. Adejobi, Chioma Egoji had posted on her social media handle earlier this month that the Najiko tomato paste contains deadly substances, but later apologized after preliminary investigations revealed that her claims were false. He cautioned the public to allow the police to complete their investigation of the matter. Some company news now. 2 million Nigerian entrepreneurs are to benefit from Wema Bank's Digital Skills Innovation Program. The initiative, launched at the banquet hall of the State House, Abuja, also seeks to empower 1 million micro, small and medium enterprises across 15 states of the Federation.
The arrival of the Vice President signals the commencement of the event, marking the launch of Wema Bank's Digital Skill Innovation Program. The initiative aims to develop young Nigerian entrepreneurs, according to the managing director of the bank.
Youth and SMEs face 4 major problems. Number 1, access to funding. Number 2, access to technology. Number 3, access to infrastructure. Number 4, access to markets. The FGN Alert Skill Innovation Program has curated carefully to address each of these identified needs at scale. It will also expose participants to investors with $50 million of funding already pledged by partners. Ultimately, success will be measured by 2 million Nigerian youths and 1 million MSMEs successfully passing through this program.
It's also expected to have ripple effect on poverty and unemployment reduction in the country.
In any government, anywhere in the world, once you have an agreement between the private sector and the public sector, they can produce magic. It can lead to job creation, it can lead to creativity, it can lead to a lot of other things.
The Vice President commends Wema Bank for the gesture, as it describes the Digital Skill Innovation Program as a transformative initiative.
Nigeria, which is expanding MSME sector of close to 40 million, has the potential to lead business innovation beyond Africa. The Skill Innovation Program, therefore, aims to unlock this immense potential. The initiative is designed to provide the necessary tools and skills for our MSMEs to thrive and compete on the global stage.
The managing director of Wema Bank explains how the program will be implemented.
The aim is not to leave out any state. In the first 2 phases, we'll do 15 states, and I believe that the end game is to make sure that we cover all 36 states in the fullness of time.
Wema Bank believes it stands as a leading digital bank, advancing digital knowledge, innovation, and enhancing business growth in Nigeria.
In other company news, renewable energy solution provider Oxano Solar Nigeria has commissioned a 100-megawatt solar panel factory at Ibejuleki, Lagos, according to the co-founder of the company, Mr. Chuks Umezulora. Their main mission is to bridge the gap in the power sector by providing sustainable, reliable, and cost-effective solar options.
Solar panel importers in Nigeria may be able to heave a sigh of relief with the commissioning of the Oxano Solar Panel Factory in Ibejuleki, Lagos State. Present at the event are financial services providers, government officials, private sector players, amongst others. One major challenge with the adoption of renewable energy is the issue of affordability of inputs like solar panels and others. And stakeholders see huge benefit with cost reduction as most players import these items.
For Olon to help the sector get to scale. Get to scale how? We use it a lot in the sector, this sentence. Well, there are different levers that we believe are important. One of these levers is to decrease the reliance on importation of the components and equipment required to successfully produce and install a solar energy system.
The conception of the solar PV factory started in 2020, and Allon, a Shell-funded impact investor, invested $2 million in the project.
So a few years ago, senior Shell executives conceived the idea of a bold and strategic contribution to strategically address the recognized challenge and further signal Shell's continued long-term commitment to Nigeria. And what we did is we put a foundation together called Allon, funded by Shell money.
According to Chooks, Ms. Laura, co-founder of Zano, this factory couldn't have come at a better time as Nigerians struggle with rising energy costs.
So one of the things I even say to stakeholders and government agencies is this, we have some evidence to show. We're not telling you to come on board and support what we're doing. I tell you, I say, when you buy our Zeno Solar, you grow the Naira. There are no magic ones to help the devaluation of the Naira. We need to do a bit more of manufacturing. And even with the recent removal of the petrol subsidy, a lot more Nigerians used to depend on petrol for their power. So, but right now they don't even have that. It's no longer as affordable and easily accessible as it used to be. So that is even the more reason why people need renewable energy and solar, to be precise.
And then the project is officially commissioned. Afterward, the co-founder takes the group on a tour.
So the e-testing machine is more like an X-ray machine.
The management of Oxano believe this commissioning will pave the way for Nigeria to achieve its net zero target with a Nigeria that is all on, all the time.
That's it from the nation's capital. Business News is next with Melinda Akinlami.
Thanks, Terry. Welcome to Business News. In line with the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has begun issuing licenses to companies for wholesale supply of gas for domestic use. At the ceremony to begin the process in Abuja, the Minister of State, Gas Resources, Mr. Ekerikeri Ekpo, revealed that the move will not only bring direct investment to the country, but diversify energy sources and curb heavy gas flaring, which is damaging the Niger Delta environment. The Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAC, has shared a total sum of 1.101 trillion naira revenue generated in August to the 3 tiers of government as monthly allocation. This is contained in a statement issued by FAC at its September meeting. Highlights of the revenue, which is the highest this year, shows that the federal government received 431.2 billion naira. States got 361.18 billion naira, while the local government councils received 266.5 billion naira. It's the final trading session for the week, the month, and the third quarter of this year. So let's find out how the domestic market performed. Willie Bond gives us more details.
Thanks, Melinda, and welcome to the Stock Market Report. We have arrived at the final trading day in September and the last one for the third quarter, and the market bagged the red card, 0.1% down for the benchmark index, closing the final trading day of September down with about 36 billion naira, shaved off the market cap, and we're seeing Boa Cement, biggest culprit today, pulled back the market with a 10% loss, and O&O almost 10% down as well to close at 7.85 kobo. It really hit the market hard. MTN Nigeria also contributed to this. Let's not let that go away without mentioning it. Now, good news for some investors, though. You see, Consolidated Hallmark Insurance still going north, notched a 9.5% gain today to close at 1.26 kobo, followed by CWG and the NGX Group. We did see some pump in money flow as well today to equities, and that's why we see that uptick for the volume and value. Volume traded today rose by about 7%, while total value of transactions inched up by more than 1/3%, to 4.53 billion naira. With 31 gainers and 14 losers, I believe the market is on its way to recovery, but the bear gets the last say in this quarter.
As Business News is back to you, Ayotunde.
Many thanks, Melinda. A state of emergency has been declared in New York as torrential rain and flash floods bring the city to a near standstill. Here's Simon Pusey with this and other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Police say at least 50 people have been killed and more than 50 injured in a suicide attack in Pakistan. The blast happened near a mosque in the southwestern province of Balochistan on Friday as people gathered to celebrate the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. Officials in Balochistan have declared a state of emergency. No group has yet claimed responsibility for the attack. Meanwhile, a separate blast has taken place at a mosque near Peshawar city. Footage from the scene in Balochistan city of Mastung showed the injured being rescued by emergency responders and locals. Dutch prosecutors knew about the gunman who killed 3 people in Rotterdam and had warned the hospital where he shot one of the victims. Fouad El had shown psychotic behavior, the hospital was told. He was arrested on Thursday after he allegedly shot a woman and her daughter at their home and a lecturer at the Erasmus Medical Centre. Police said he had previously been convicted of animal cruelty. The emails sent by the Dutch Public Prosecution Service to the teaching hospital where Fouad El studied described previous worrying behaviour. At least 170 people are now known to have died in a huge explosion at a fuel depot in Nagorno-Karabakh on Monday. The announcement marks a sharp rise from the authorities' previous estimate of 68 deaths. Remains found at the scene of the blast will now be sent to Armenia to identify the victims through DNA analysis. The authorities in Nagorno-Karabakh said rescue teams were continuing to search the area. Meanwhile, delegations from the defense ministries of Azerbaijan and Armenia have arrived in the Russian city of Tula for a meeting of the Council of Defense Ministers. It comes after the Armenian president said the breakaway province of Nagorno-Karabakh would cease to exist next year. According to the TASS news agency, the delegations of the defense ministries of Russia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan all took part in the meeting. A major incident has been declared at a children's hospital after a school coach overturned on a UK motorway. One person has suffered major trauma-related injuries, while 50 others were also being treated after the crash on the M53 in Wirral, Merseyside, the North West Ambulance Service said. Police said the coach struck a motorway reservation shortly after 8 a.m. Alderhay Children's Hospital in Liverpool said it was treating a number of injured people. Billionaire Elon Musk has waded into the US immigration debate after a visit to the Texas border with Mexico to meet with local politicians and law enforcement. A native of South Africa, Musk said he was trying to obtain what he called an unfiltered view of the situation. The visit came amid an upswing of arrivals of people seeking asylum in the United States in recent days. He called for an expedited legal approval as part of a greatly expanded legal immigration system that welcomes hardworking and honest migrants.
I am, as an immigrant to the United States, I'm extremely pro-immigrant, and I believe that we need a greatly expanded legal immigration system, and that we should let anyone in the country who is hardworking and honest and will be a contributor to the United States, we should have expedited legal approval for anyone who sort of falls in that category. But then by the same token, we should also not be allowing people in the country if they're breaking the law. That doesn't make sense. The law is there for a reason. I think we want to do both things: smooth out legal immigration, and then stop sort of a flow of people that is of such magnitude that is actually leading to a collapse of social services.
And autonomous, multifunctional and emissions-free, a German maker's plan to operate their robot car to help local communities with rubbish collection, tree watering, lawn mowing and one day also at airports. Engineering company EDAG, based north of Frankfurt, says it aims to collect more data so that its CityBot is put to use around the clock. Powered by electricity or hydrogen, The CityBots maker's goal is to operate the vehicle equipped with sensors autonomously and highly automated in a digitalised city environment. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. And back here as we kick off the weekend, the annual general meeting of the Nigerian National League has picked October the 28th for the commencement of the 2023-2024 season. Also, draws for the new season has been conducted as teams were drawn in 4 groups, 2 in the Southern Conference and 2 in the Northern Conference. The 2 teams from each conference will compete for the MPFL tickets in the Super 8 tournament. And then to our lead story, where WBC world champion Tyson Fury will take on WBA, WBO, IBF, and IBO Alexander Usyk in a historic undisputed heavyweight showdown in Saudi Arabia. The date for the contest, which will take place in Riyadh, has not been announced, though unconfirmed reports say it could be staged in December. That's on the 23rd or in January. Heavyweight boxing last undisputed champion was Britain's Lennox Lewis in 1999. And that's it on Sports. Ayotunde, it's back to you.
Many thanks, Jeffrey. And the main news again. The Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State and Asaba in Delta State today affirmed the election of Governors Umar Eno and Sheriff Obori-Wori. That's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. You have a good night.